Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about SONIA G's brand new brush set. I couldn't be more excited. I nearly fell off my little stool here when I saw these announced. They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. So let's get into it. She has come out with a fusion series, and these brushes are dedicated to cream products. I love cream products. I'm always searching for beautiful cream product brushes. But the reality is, and I realized this when I was going through my brushes, is that very few brushes I feel like are made for cream liquid products. I feel like there are mostly brushes made for powder products that you can also use for cream and liquid products. So I am thrilled that SONIA G has come out with these brushes. They're just absolutely gorgeous. So they are available exclusively at Beautylish starting today, I believe at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I will leave, of course, information and a link to shop down below in my description box. These brushes were sent to me from Beautylish and SONIA G to review for you guys. So a huge thank you to them for sending these over. This is not a sponsored video or anything. They just sent over the brushes, the brush set to me. So the set is going to be available for $225, or you can purchase the brushes individually, which is really, really great. And I'm just referring to SONIA G's Instagram post here. The individual brushes will range from $30 to $68. All right, so we're going to talk about each individual brush, and I'm going to demo all the brushes for you. I don't have any makeup on at the moment, so we'll fix that issue soon. And then we'll do some comparisons to some brushes that I have in my collection that seemed familiar, or brushes that I felt like I would use for the same purpose, and just sort of talk through some of those comparisons. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. The brush series is comprised of 5 brushes. So all of these brushes are made with the same mix of hairs and fibers. So we have goat hairs in here, and then we also have 2 synthetic filaments, PTT and PBT synthetic filaments. So they're all made with the same mix. And I'm gonna start with the largest brush and work down. So we have a jumbo base brush here. And what I didn't realize is that this brush is actually slightly slanted. Ever since I received this brush, I thought, oh, you know, when it got packed or it was sitting in the box for a while or whatever, it got a little misshapen. But I'm actually mistaken. This brush is actually designed to have a little bit of a slant here, which I absolutely love. Currently, one of my absolute all-time favorite foundation brushes is the BK Beauty 101 brush. And this brush has a much more obvious and severe slant to it. I was really happy to see that this had that little bit of an angle, and I just feel like it makes applying cream products just a little bit more, I don't know, natural. You know, you usually are holding a brush at an angle. So anyway, let's go ahead and play with this jumbo base brush. I'm gonna go ahead and apply my NARS Pure Radiant Tinted Moisturizer SPF 30 in the shade Gotland. I'm gonna squeeze some out onto the back of my hand here. And I'm gonna grab this jumbo base, and I'm gonna dip it right in to the product. So I'm just gonna start by swiping. And what I am loving about these brushes is that they're dense, but they're flexible too. So they're dense enough to work with cream and liquid products, you know, to move the actual product around, but they're flexible enough in that, you know, if you start layering cream products, it's not gonna disturb what's underneath. And the flexibility also helps with the spreading of the product, and it keeps it really soft. It's just a really nice kind of gentle touch to the skin, but it's so effective in the way that it moves the product around, blends the product out. You know, in pure SONIA G style, these brushes are just so well thought out, just really, really beautifully done. But anyway, let's just continue with the demonstration here. So this is the jumbo base, and I neglected to mention that these handles are similar to the Sky brush set, and not like her original fundamental set, which has the bigger handles. I really like the bigger handles, but I do understand that these are, you know, a little bit more practical. Like when you put them in your brush cup, they don't take up as much room. I just really like how easy it is to hold these larger handles. But anyway, beautiful nonetheless. And I think if you're someone that maybe has shied away from foundation brushes in the past, maybe because they left streaks, they were a little bit streaky, or you felt like maybe they just didn't lay down the product very evenly, I think you'll be very, very pleasantly surprised by this brush. Absolutely no streaks. This by far is way up there with any foundation brush I've used where you just have like a seamless application. It's not streaky. It's not like I have to wait until the product sets a little bit and then kind of like blend out any sort of brush strokes. You don't get anything like that with this brush. Just completely like seamless application. All right, foundation is applied. So that is the Jumbo Base Brush. And I think I'll do all the comparisons at the end. Let's just get through all the brushes, just kind of talking through them all and applying everything. All right, next let's talk about the Classic Base Brush. And again, I'm just kind of going in size order. So we're just working from largest to smallest. This is the next size down. And this has a completely round ferrule where this Jumbo Base, I forgot to mention, it does have this pinch here. So it's not completely round, it's a little flatter. So the Classic Base has a round ferrule, and the ferrule actually comes in a little bit, it curls in a little bit. It gives the brush a little bit more stability. It adds to the density of the bristles because it's just kind of bringing all the bristles in. So you're gonna get a lot of control with this brush. You're going to be able to blend out maybe thicker, more stubborn kind of cream products, but it also is great if you want to pounce because it has that sturdiness to it. I don't like pouncing with brushes that are too soft because it feels like there's very little control, like all the bristles just sort of splay out. So this is wonderful for pouncing and working with like cream products. So one thing I just wanted to mention, just something I thought of when I was, looking at this beautiful set and just thinking about, dreaming about all the products that I would use with it and like how beautiful they are. But what I wanted to mention is so many brushes that are designed for, liquid and cream base products are flat top, are like flat top kabuki brushes. Maybe they're angled, but they're always flat. Or generally they're very, very flat. Like I have a lot of foundation brushes that are all flat top. And, those work fine. But I really love that SONIA G made these rounder. I just feel like it makes the brushes a little bit more versatile. Like I said, I feel like I can pounce, I can use them at an angle. I don't feel like I have to come at my face at a 90-degree angle to get the brush to work. Like it's just easier to use. So anyway, that was just an observation I made, and I'm so glad that she made these brushes slightly domed. So this Classic Base I think is incredibly versatile. Obviously by how it's named, you think, okay, I can use it for foundation, but I think this is gonna be great for bronzer, blush, highlight even, or touching up your foundation. I think like all of SONIA G's brushes, all of them, not even just this series, but all of her brushes, they're just so versatile. I'm gonna use this to apply some cream bronzer. All right, so I'm going to use my Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate palette in intensity 0.5, and I'm gonna use the sculpting, bronzing, contour cream product down here. So I'm using the Classic Base. I'm just going to dip straight into the product, pick up a little bit there, and just tap the product on. I love, love, love the density of this brush, but again, because the fibers are still flexible, I don't feel like I'm stabbing myself. It's still a very effective brush in that it lays down product, but it still has like a soft touch to it. Oh, just perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I'm just gonna kind of buff out the edges here. And again, in true SONIA G brush fashion, they all just make really, really quick work of whatever it is you're doing. I don't know what kind of speedy magic she's infused her brushes with, but all of her brushes are like this. They just do everything in what I feel like is half the time that it would normally take to apply cream bronzer. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and apply to this side. And I am just pouncing, but of course you could sweep if you wanted to. So I'm gonna sweep to blend. All right, so we're done applying some bronzer with the Classic Base brush, and I could see myself using this for blush as well, but we're gonna move on to the next brush, which is the one I wanna use to apply some blush. And I was so excited when I saw this brush being released again, basically, because SONIA G came out with a travel size brush set a little while ago, and it was called the Keyaki brush set. And when that brush set came out, I was so excited for this brush, which is the mini base brush. So this is basically the same brush. It just has the longer handle to it. So it's just not travel, travel friendly. So if you loved this in the Keyaki set, which I did, you're gonna be really happy to see this one with the longer handle, which I am. So this brush is very, very similar in shape and size to two cream brushes that I really, really enjoy using, which I'll show you when I do my comparisons. But one is the Smashbox Cream Cheek brush, I think is the full name. And then the other is that Zoeva brush that I fell in love with when Lisa Eldridge, I mean, she's been using it forever and she still uses it all the time to apply actually foundation. And that brush was so hard to get in the US. Now you can get in the US, but I remember when I couldn't get in the US, I was like, why is that the only brush with that shape and size and everything? Like I just couldn't find a dupe for it. And then I found the Smashbox, and now SONIA G has come out with this, which is, it's so good. It's so, so good. So I really do enjoy using this mini base for blush. So it is like literally a small kind of version of this classic base is this mini base brush. So you can see that right here. They both have ferrules that kind of curl in. The mini base brush, the curl I feel like is a little bit stronger, I guess you could say. It's a little bit steeper, the curve. So what I'm gonna do actually to demo this brush is I'm going to use like a liquid blush, and then I'm going to put a cream blush on top of it. So I've got the Natasha Denona Puff Paints. These are her liquid blush serums, and this comes with a little doe foot applicator. So I'm gonna start by dabbing this just straight onto my cheek, and then I'm gonna take this and just blend it in. These puff paints are really pretty. If you just want this really cloud-like, subtle, kind of like cotton candy blush effect to your cheeks, these are so perfect for that. So I'm just pouncing again, just sort of blending it out. And you get this really beautiful, like light wash of a blush. And then I'm gonna go in with number 2. This is the Clé de Peau Cream Blush. And I believe the actual color name is Pale Fig. So I'm gonna go right into the pot here, pick up a little bit of product and just sort of accent where I put down that puff paint. So just like in a little bit of a smaller area, and blend that out a little bit here. Isn't that such a pretty effect? I love layering like a light wash of a blush and then something just a little bit stronger on top. Just gives you that nice dimension. Anyway, I wanted to demonstrate this brush, that it's great with liquid and cream. I mean, all of these brushes are great with both, but I just wanted to take the opportunity and demo that. So let me go ahead and do the same thing to this side. All right, we've got my super rosy cheeks, how I like to wear blush, very heavy like. I just love this brush so much. I think if I had to pick one from this set, which is, like picking your favorite child, I think it would be this one just because it's so versatile. You could definitely use this for foundation. I mean, it's a little bit small. You'd have to really, take your time with it, but it would apply foundation into those little crevices really, really nicely. And then obviously it would be great for bronzer, highlight, blush, all those things. And I think it would be great for concealer even. Anyway, I think because this is the size that's right in the middle of this entire brush set, this one is probably the most versatile and probably the one I would recommend. If you just wanted to get one, I would say this baby. This is the one. Next we have the Jumbo Concealer, and this has a pinched ferrule, and it almost looks like her Worker 1 brushes, but let me just show you. Those are very small compared to this Jumbo Concealer. So I am going to use this to apply some concealer. I've got my Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer here, and I'm just going to dab just a few dots here. And I'm totally doing my makeup in a weird order today because of these brushes. So I'm gonna try and be careful not to get too much onto the blush here, but I'm just gonna take this and again, just sort of pounce the product in. And this is just, oh, it's such a good size. Again, because of the name, you're gonna be tempted to use it as a concealer brush, and it's great for that. But I would imagine it would be great for one and done shadows. It would be great even for highlight, some liquid highlight. If you wanna place that right on your cheekbone here, right down the bridge of your nose, just perfect for that. And I feel like this is a smaller more rounded version of one of my favorite concealer brushes, which is the Trish McEvoy. I think it's a 66. No, 55. Wow, it's the 55 Deluxe Blender brush. So it's like a smaller version of that. And they're both kind of like paddle shaped, but there's a thickness to them. So they're not like typical concealer brushes that are very, very flat that are meant to just kind of like swipe on. I like these that work a little bit better if you like pouncing. I really like pouncing cream and liquid products in. For me, I feel like it just blends in a little bit better when I'm kind of like patting the product in instead of just like swiping it. I'm just gonna take a little bit more concealer and just put it on my eyelids. It's basically what I use for primer. And just like all the other brushes, there's, you know, that density to the brush, which makes them very effective, but the bristles are so flexible and it's so soft. Like even on my eyelid, which is probably the most sensitive skin on my face, it's like nothing. I feel like it's just like my finger kind of going over my lid. It's just, it's so great. All right, so concealer is applied, and that was the Jumbo Concealer Brush. Just so great. And we're down to the last brush. So I'm actually going to just apply some like brow gel, and then we'll be back to apply some eyeshadow. Okay, the last brush in the set is the Soft Concealer. So this one has a round ferrule, and the ferrule doesn't curve to the top, it just goes straight up, but it's still a very dense brush. So you could definitely, of course, use this for concealer. But when I saw this brush, the first thing that I thought of was like, oh, perfect one and done eyeshadow, like cream eyeshadow brush. This reminded me of the Westman Atelier Baby Blender brush, which I love. And I'll do comparisons once I'm done demoing, but this one's a little bit smaller than that Baby Blender brush. So of course I had to take out the Westman Atelier iPods. So we're gonna use my favorite one, which is part of the Le Jour set, which is Tabac. And it's this beautiful like taupey peachy shade. So I'm gonna go straight into the eyeshadow and I'm gonna swirl the brush in there. Picks up quite a bit of product very easily. And I'm going to just sweep across the lid. Just a fast, easy way to apply one eyeshadow. And if you're into one and done looks like I am, then you're just done. But this is also great if you just want to lay down one shadow and then of course build some other colors on top. But I'm gonna leave it just this shade right here. All right, so that is the Soft Concealer. I used it for some putty eyeshadow. It's closer to cream than it is to a liquid shadow. But those are all 5 of the brushes that are part of Sonia G's Fusion series. I'm so in love. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my makeup and then I'll be right back to do some comparisons. All right, makeup is complete. If you are curious as to everything I have on my face, I'll leave links down below in my description box if you're interested. So let's jump into the comparisons. Let's start with the largest brush again, the Jumbo Base. And the only other brush in my collection that just was remotely similar to this was my Fupa brush, my Koyudo Fupa brush. And the Fupa brush is much larger. Well, not much, it's larger. It's a little bit wider and it's a little bit thicker than the Jumbo Base. But the hair lengths are pretty much the same. So the Fupa brush just seems like it's kind of like exploding out a little bit because the hair lengths are so short, but it is like a wider brush. So it has more of like a mushroom shape to it than the Jumbo Base. And it doesn't have any slight slant to it at all. The Fupa brush is like it's symmetrical versus the Jumbo Base. So very, very similar. And I do really enjoy the Fupa brush. So that is the only comparison I have for the Jumbo Base. Like I mentioned, all of my other base product brushes are all flat tops. They're all like kabuki style flat top brushes. And then I did already show you like the comparison with the BK Beauty 101 brush, how this was just so much more slanted. But the Fupa brush was the closest. So that's the Jumbo Base. And then for the classic base, again, I only had one kind of brush that was remotely similar, and that is the Bobbi Brown Full Coverage Face Brush. And the Bobbi Brown brush is larger. The diameter is larger, The hair lengths are a little bit longer, so it's just bigger all around, but it has a similar shape in that it is a round ferrule and it has this domed top to it. Thought maybe this could be similar to like this La Mer foundation brush, which I feel like I've seen in like several different companies. Like they have foundation brushes like this. I feel like Kevyn Aucoin had one like this, but they're just very, very different. Like this kind of foundation brush is just a different breed, if you will, than this type of classic base brush. So anyway, very unique in my collection. And then the mini base brush. So the two brushes I was talking about earlier that are very, very similar is this Smashbox cream cheek brush. So you can see that the shape is very, very similar. I believe the diameter is the same, the hair lengths are the same. And the one main difference between this brush and the Smashbox brush is that this one is made up of all synthetic fibers. So that's the first brush I wanted to compare it to. The other one is the Zoeva brush, the 110, I apologize for how dirty it is. This is the 110 face shape brush from Zoeva. This is the one I was rambling about that Lisa Eldridge always uses, that was very difficult to get in the US, but now you can get it. Anyway, here it is next to the mini base. So it's a little bit more domed than the mini base or the Smashbox one. The hair lengths are a little bit shorter, but like very, very similar. Like I would grab for these two brushes for the same purpose. So those are the two mini base brush comparisons that I had. It feels like every other brush I have is like either bigger or smaller than this one. So again, just such a unique shape and so versatile. All right, next we have the Jumbo Concealer. And this brush, again, it's very unique. I just don't really have anything this size. So I did want to compare it to the SONIA G Jumbo Blender brush because, you know, at first glance I was like, oh, it's kind of similar to that. Not really. It's really quite a bit bigger than the Jumbo Blender. The thickness is, you know, a little bit thicker, but it's really the width of this that is much larger. And then I thought, let me just compare it to two large eyeshadow shader brushes, because that's what this shape reminds me of. It just kind of looks like a flat shader brush, just enlarged. So here it is next to the Xoxo Z. I always forget the number of this. Anyway, it's the eyeshadow brush. But the main difference again is because this is an eyeshadow brush, the bristles are tapered quite a bit at the top, so it becomes more paddle-like than the Jumbo Concealer. And the Xoxo is made out of squirrel hair, so I would not use this with cream or liquid. So this is just kind of a fun comparison that I wanted to show you. And same with this Xoxo GSN 7 brush. So this is my largest like flat shader eyeshadow brush. So I just wanted to compare it to that. So you can see it is larger. I don't think it's necessarily wider, but the hairs are longer. It's really, really fluffy. It's not quite as dense. And again, this is meant for like powder products. This is also made out of squirrel hair, so I would not use this with cream or liquid products, but I did just want to compare these two. And then last but not least, the soft concealer. This is the one I just used for eyeshadow. I love this brush. I love it. So I did want to compare it to the Westman Atelier Baby Blender brush. So you can see that the Baby Blender brush it's a little bit wider, so it's just a little bit chunkier. But the hair lengths are the same. So you could see why when I saw this soft concealer brush, I thought of this brush. And Westman Atelier, I believe, designed this Baby Blender brush to be used on the cheek. I'm not sure that she actually designed it to be used on the eyes. I just think, for me, it's a little bit too small. For cheek products, I could probably use it for concealer, but I really like using it for one and done eyeshadows or just to put down like the first shade. And I'm sure that's what I'm going to be using this soft concealer for. So you can see the similarities there. And then these are 100% synthetic hairs versus the SONIA G. All right, so those are all of my comparisons, and I demoed each brush for you. So let me know if you have any comments or questions down below in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.